Hi and welcome back. Today I'm going to be painting a swift. This is one of our special English summer birds. Very beautiful. You can see them flying high in the sky at dusk at the moment. It's mid-June. Some might call them sort of boring little brown birds if you see them up close, but what I'm hoping today to show you with this tutorial is just how important layering is in watercolour. So you can see that I'm starting here with a very simple single colour. This is actually a mix that I've made. This is raw umber mixed with some ivory black, mixed in my palette with a lot of water to make it quite mild a colour. So you can see that I'm just going in and I'm painting my pre-drawn outline almost entirely with this one single colour. I know it looks a little bit blotchy and a little bit boring at the moment, but just you wait and see. So as you can see here, I've let the wings dry a little bit before starting with the bird's body. I'm using a slightly more concentrated version of the same paint that I did before to just get some darks in. I'm leaving, very carefully trying to leave his little white throat patch clear, as well as a gap for his little eye. As you'll see in a minute, I'm going to start on his throat. Basically all I'm using here is water from my paint pot. That's all it is, so essentially very dilute paint. Really more water than paint at this point, but so I wanted a little bit of brown colour seeping, diffusing into his white throat patch, but you can see here that I'm actually using the brush and my fingertip to just push some of the paint away from his little throat there, and then carrying on, beginning to layer up some darker brown and the bird's body. Now for the next layer, you can see I'm using a large flat brush for this because well, it covers a lot of ground and I enjoy using it. So I'm putting in an even darker shade of brown. This is again a mix of raw umber with ivory black, just a bit more concentrated this time of both colours. And you can see there I'm just adding to the richness of the brown and really just filling in those darks there, or at least beginning to. And now for some even darker tones. Here you can see I'm using my flat brush to put a little black in just along the edge of the wing there. This is again ivory black, but without any mixed in brown this time, just to start allowing that dark colour to flow down into the wing using the wet paint that I've just put in there to start getting some really nice sort of gentle colour gradients. You can do exactly the same technique with any other painting you're using, be it flowers or birds, or butterflies or people, you know, whatever takes your fancy. But it's, yeah, this diffusion technique is wonderful. It's one of the best things about watercolour. And here you can see now I'm putting an extra layer of colour into this wing. See that that boring brown to begin with is starting to look quite vibrant now, especially with the addition of this ivory black, which again I'm putting in with a flat brush and just gently encouraging it to diffuse into the rest of the wing to give it a really lovely, rich, shaded tone. And here, to add even more depth, I'm layering in a little bit of burnt sienna just into the wings corner to give a little more richness to the brown, to contrast with the darks from earlier on. Again, really trying to build up these darks here, really layering in the paint bit by bit, layer by layer, whilst the paint underneath is still wet. It's not very, very wet, you know, it's not running as you can see, but it's still damp enough to allow the fresh colours to diffuse in and create that lovely, rich depth of colour that we're looking for here. And now for the hardest part, at least for me, getting the little eye in. Just using a very, very fine brush and using ivory black again, just very carefully put that little detail in that just gives them so much character. And just moving on from that ivory black, using the same colour on my brush just to finish off that little beak detail there that was missing. So yeah, that's a very light ivory black that I'm using there. There we are, happy with the bird at this point. So now I'm going to let him completely dry before starting on the background. So you can see here now I'm beginning to put in the background. It's a simple sky backdrop that I've chosen. And as you can see, what I've done is I've wet the paper quite carefully around the little bird, making sure not to actually make contact with the darks, just with clean water from a clean pot. And now I'm using my squirrel brush to carefully put in some blues and some shading. I'm using a cerulean blue here, although really any blue of your choice will do at this point, you know, depending on what your sky is like, what it's like where you live, or what it's like outside, whatever takes your fancy. So you can see what I've done here is I've decided to go for a sort of a sweeping diagonal to mimic the summer clouds and the summer sky just peeping through. And for a little depth, just a touch of very dilute Payne's grey, which I'm going to use some clean water to just blend out so that it diffuses in with the background white of the paper, making use of that, and with the blue, just to give that sky a little more depth and a little more interest. So now that the background's dry, I can start to give him a couple of friends. You can see here that I'm using quite a dark colour to paint these silhouettes in. I'm using a quite concentrated raw umber and a fine wriggle brush to just paint in the silhouettes of his fellow swifts. And just a last little bit of detail here to finish up the wing shape and to just give a little extra depth and detail to the sky. And I'd say we're pretty much done. As you can see, a couple of times here I've just used a balled up piece of damp tissue to blot out some of the heavier paint, just to give a nice cloud effect. And we're finished! Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. I really hope you enjoyed it. I really hope you loved the finished painting as much as I do. I'm really pleased with how this turned out. And yeah, hopefully you guys picked up some decent tips about layering. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you'd like to see more content from me. And yeah, hopefully see you next time. Bye!